Fit for Life Radio, episode number 152. Your hosts, Gary and Will.
Back.
Today we are talking about recovery.
We're recovering, baby.
So we know we want to exercise for positive adaptions. We want good things to happen, challenge our muscles.
But how do you get the adaptions? Adaptations?
Mm-hmm.
Is it adaptions?
Adaptions?
Adaptations. That's got to be the word.
Maybe it's both.
Okay. All right. Respect.
Yep. So Will's had a lot of questions at the gym. People kind of ask, hey, how do I know if I'm recovering?
Yeah, or am I working out too frequently? Mm-hmm. And, sometimes it's hard to know when you don't know what to look for, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just figuring out what does it look like when we're not recovering.
Yeah.
And then what do we do about it?
Why is it so important?
Yeah.
So first thing to start off with is you want to understand the principle that when we work out, when we train, when you do all these things, when you go, anything physical, the benefits, the exercise, the training itself is not the magic.
No.
The rest between the training is what actually improves our fitness.
Yeah.
So, you can dig such a deep hole. You can, go until you're, lying in a pool of sweat on your back. And if you don't recover from that, nothing positive happened from it.
Nope. So it's almost a detriment to you.
Yeah, you can actually dig a deeper hole, recovery debt. And now again, the problem is we get attached and fall in love with our short-term sensations and satisfactions, So, this was so exhausting. I feel so tired. That must be good, right?
Yeah, or the slight bit of endorphins from, doing something like that.
But realize that's all just, sensations. There's adrenaline pumping. There's, all these different things. They're just feelings.
Yep.
Right? And when we get too attached to feelings, it's not great.
No. It's sensations.
And then we talk about this all the time. There's a difference from when you're 40 years old and you're 20 years old.
For sure.
Right? And it's not so much in your actual body so much. It's in your life, your lifestyle. And it all comes down to that bucket of stress we talk about, right? We just typically have more stress.
There's more on your plate, more financial responsibility. Yep. You're responsible for other human beings a lot of times. Mm-hmm. You own a house. It's just a lot more, on the line for you.
Yeah, and you have to recover from that. Literally, it's crazy, but you could be sitting there, say you're sitting there right now, and you're thinking about something right now, and you're thinking about the impending, what's the thing we're about to be in?
Recession?
Yeah. You're thinking about the recession. Literally, that stress right there requires you to come back from, recover from. Mm-hmm. Like it goes in. It is the same as you just hit, a super wad, smash down, burpee fest. Yeah. Right. Like that stress. And so is you sitting there thinking about the recession and then realizing you got to go pick up your kid at school and you're 20 minutes late, and then realizing you haven't even gotten groceries, and then having to cook it, and then trying to decide what to eat, right?
So it's just this long rolling stress through the day.
And when you're 20,
you got nothing.
What are you thinking about?
Just, we don't have to go there.
Yeah, so we all know. And so that has to be factored in, right? That's why you kind of got to approach things differently, right? So, again, training itself doesn't make the magic. That's why when people go and this will make a tangent, but, people want this, like, they think of exercise as this transaction, right? So, say you're choosing where you want to go exercise at, and you're going to pick the place that gives you the hardest workout that one time, right? When the reality is, like, it's not even hard. It's not a skill for a coach or trainer to make a hard workout.
No, it's actually really it's easy.
It's the easiest thing.
It's kind of insulting.
Run around this building 3 times, come in, do 40 burpees, run back around the building, then come in. It's
like that's going to be tiring for anybody, no matter your fitness level, really.
Yeah. So then if you're this made me the most tired. This was the best workout, but the reality is you may be able to get away with that once a week or every now and then. But then if that's your expectation and that's the way you're training day in and day out, like there's no benefit.
Nah.
It's not good.
And it's going to come back to get you. And generally, like, you end up in some way worse off
after
a long time of that if you can't recover from it.
So the real reality is you should judge that probably the opposite of most people's intuition.
Mm-hmm.
If someone smacks you down the first time and almost every time you come in, you should be like, I need another.
It's almost a red flag
Yeah.
if your goal is to really get something out of the exercise. Now, if you want it to be this short-term, I don't know, dopamine hit or something that just feels good and rewarding in the moment, then, hey, that's fine. That's your prerogative. But most people do want something larger out of fitness.
Mm-hmm. So now we know our body can only adapt when we rest, while we rest, to compensate for the stress that we've put on it from, like, say, this hard training session or moderate training session or easy training session. They all need some recovery to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
So the recovery is what enables fitness and strength. Like, you can't, and here's the thing that's like the most frustrating part to watch is people want to go train harder and do more and more and more, and then they don't take their recovery, which we'll dive into here. But the two biggest pieces, and most people know, is like sleep and nutrition, right? So the reality is if you're going to train harder and more, you need to scale your seriousness and effort and time towards sleep and fitness or nutrition just as much. But people don't do that.
No.
So you're now actually, by thinking you're like training harder, you're actually like pushing yourself further and further away from making progress with your fitness.
Yeah. Yeah, it does need to be balanced on all three sides. And, when one side, the training intensity goes up, the other ones need to go up right with them.
Yeah, it's actually the flip, right? The better your recovery, then the more frequently and more intense you can train.
Yeah.
The less serious you take or the worse your recovery, then the less frequent, less intense you need to train.
Yeah. And I think, a good example actually would be somebody that's a professional athlete. Their whole entire job is to perform.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the people you see training multiple times a day, but their recovery is on point. And they have people just whose dedicated job on these teams is to make sure people are recovering. Their nutrition is on point, but they're taking advantage of every modality available. And even then, like, these dudes get hurt and they, sometimes burn out, and then look at yourself and you have so much more to worry about, and you're not getting paid millions of dollars to do it. So you really need to kind of adjust your outlook on where you're at and what you have on your plate.
Yeah, and if your training stress is more deposits than your recovery, then that's how you end up overtraining.
In debt,
and and overreaching, which gets you in trouble, right? So, what are some symptoms of that? Like, what do you look for? With overtraining, typically you won't be gaining strength, right? So this is the other thing. It also comes down to, like, if you're just kind of going to the gym and just doing stuff, it's harder to tell because. You're not tracking.
You don't have any
right?
metrics to compare.
Yeah. So for one is like your strength. So if you have a couple key lifts you track on and you're not getting stronger, and by stronger too, it could be a number of things. You could be getting more repetitions. You could be adding more weight. You could be having more control over your repetitions. So it's not always just adding weight.
Yeah, it could be, hey, this movement feels way better than it did a month ago, and that's improvement.
Mm-hmm. Another common one is you got to pay a little more intuition with, but is like your mood. You should not. I think a lot of people then start to accept this as natural. This is how I feel. But so you almost can get in this like zombie-like state, and you'll just feel it, right? And your mood's down, your energy's down. You'll struggle with your sleep. You get sick all the time. Sex drive, can tank, right? So all those things are typically signs. Now the three that we noticed, so a little more for Gen Pop, or what do you think? Kind of
for
like
what, the symptoms of overtraining?
Yeah, and just key stuff. I think the average person will recognize. And
I think loss of strength's an easy one if you are somewhat tracking, because it's easy to know. Like, if you're training consistently, hey, I did 35 pounds last week and I can't even get that this week, and I haven't been able to get back to that in 4 weeks. Like, that's a pretty cut and dry one that even somebody who, doesn't pay a ton of attention to their exercises would probably notice.
Yeah. Another one's feeling you're sore all the time.
Yeah. If you are sore all the time, something has to change.
That does not mean you had a good workout.
No.
Like soreness is not an indicator of a good workout.
It's soreness is such a funny thing because I think people think of it as like, I'm sore, it was a good workout, I'm benefiting from this. It's almost like it's this transaction of soreness equals good. And the reality is, like, soreness is not a good indicator of your train, like of like a good workout at all. Now, sometimes like you are going to be sore.
Yeah.
That's just sometimes there's no bones about it. You go up in weight, you're doing a new exercise. Sometimes that's fine.
Yeah.
I get this question from some newer people when they're like, I'm never sore. Like, or they're kind of like down. They're like, I feel like I'm not doing something right because I'm never sore. And then the line of questioning will be like, well, are you getting stronger on your lifts? And they're usually like, yeah. You know, do you feel fine? Do things hurt? And they're like, no. To be honest with you, that's just a golden situation where you're continuing to get stronger week in and week out, and you're never sore. Like, your recovery is good. You know, so soreness is not an indicator of being a good workout. However, it can be an indicator of doing too much. You know, because if you're insanely sore, I know a lot of people have had days like this where like you can't walk the next day.
And what they're finding is it's like, in a way, like inflammation of almost like the nervous system.
Yeah.
So it's like your nervous system sends signals to like these, muscles and areas. And again, you can't avoid it completely.
No.
A little bit of soreness is normal, especially like Will said, when there's a new novel exercise. That's why it's like your nervous system's kind of like heightened. This was new, right? But then, that's you don't want that all the time, right?
Yep. And that's if you're insanely sore, say your legs are just crushed, and then the next day you do legs again, your performance is going to be way worse. Like, it's just, your nervous system is not in tip-top shape. It's not recovered, and those muscles are not recovered either. So you're going to be down-regulated. So then your performance is going to suck, and that session is going to do nothing for you.
And truthfully, the ideal workout program would probably be like so balanced that you would never be sore.
Yeah.
That would actually be like the ideal situation.
Yeah.
Because all soreness does is hinder you, right? You're not able to move as well. You may be less likely to work out because you're so sore. The ideal fitness program would be no soreness, but all your other progress indicators are moving.
Yeah. And is that a reality with our modern life? Probably not for a lot of people, which is okay, but still making strides towards that. Like, trying to get as much sleep as possible and, all of that.
So I think for average person, like, that's an easy, obvious indicator. Are you sore all the time? Another one's like, are you getting sick often?
Yeah.
Right? So immune suppression. Again, when we're overstressed and not recovering enough, we typically, our immune system is compromised. We're going to get sick more often.
Yep.
Little sore throat. It could be like little things like that. So those are kind of two obvious ones. Wasn't there one more we talked about before?
I
think it was your exercise performance. You're not getting better.
Your mood.
So those three are going to be like the most common ones that most people will notice, right? So like, hey, Will, how do I know if I'm recovering? Well, those are the things. Like, you're not getting sore often. You're making progress. So you have a few key lifts you're tracking. You have maybe a couple conditioning. If you do little HIIT circuits, air bike, things like that you can kind of compare on. Over time, those are getting better, right? And your general well-being's pretty good. Now, again, this is where... So when you're trying to set this up to rights, hey, so how do I make sure I am recovering, right? So you kind of want to match, right? If you have a stressful life, if you're a high anxiety, high stressor person, if your nutrition and sleep, you struggle with those things, do not try and go work out 5-6 days a week.
You can't counter poor sleep and poor nutrition with just more working out.
Yeah.
It's just, it doesn't cancel it out.
Yep.
It does the opposite. It makes it worse.
So really, I mean, for most people, if you don't have extreme goals, body and physique, fitness goals, like the base that we talk about is a great place to start. 2 full body resistance strength training workouts a week, and then try to get like 150 minutes of walking in, right? So 2 strength workouts, 20, 30-minute walk a day. Start there. And if you recover, and hopefully you'll be able to recover from that, you're going to be making tons of progress. More progress than if you were trying to train 6 days a week and do a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and you're crushing yourself every week.
Now, if you can scale or you build the habits of taking your nutrition more serious, getting enough sleep, scale that workout up if you want. Scale that frequency up, scale the intensity up. But realize they go hand in hand, right? And so, what are those things, those recovery things? We'll get into the details of that. So you have to prioritize it, right? Like it has to be a priority because none of this stuff is like necessarily convenient or our natural modern environment makes these things harder.
Yeah, and we have to work more to do them. The exercising's rarely the culprit for that. It's usually something else that needs to really be looked at.
Yeah, so those things you want to focus on, you want to prioritize are getting enough high-quality sleep.
Well, I mean
that speaks for itself.
To be honest, that is probably the most important habit of all of them, because so many dominoes fall after that are key. And we've done episodes on sleep, but if you're not getting enough sleep, your stress hormones are higher the next day. Your hunger hormones are way off, so you're more likely to grab higher or more dense, calorie dense foods. Your mood is going to be off. So it's kind of all encompassing.
If you know me, you know I'm always on the run, up early and home late, so having a 3-hour morning routine isn't really in the cards for me. What is in the cards is AG1. It's a fast way to get vitamins and minerals I need to perform. I first gave AG1 a try because I wanted a single solution that helps support my entire body by filling in nutrient gaps and simplifying my morning routine. Since drinking AG1 daily, I've always felt strong and energized and ready to attack the day. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more, it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's 1 scoop mixed in water once a day and every day. I know that AG1 is giving my body high-quality nutrition. Every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process, so you know that it's safe. And AG1 ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrition density. AG1 is a supplement that I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why I'm excited to welcome them as a new partner. Here is your chance to start every day this season with a gift to yourself. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/provengrit. That's drinkag1.com/provengrit. Check it out.
Everything falls into place when your sleep is on point.
Yeah. So that's one. Balance and vary your fitness program. Mm-hmm. So again, if you're going to some program that just makes every workout as hard as possible, that's crap.
Yeah, garbage.
That's crap.
Garbaggio.
Now you can figure out yourself how to balance it, or hire a coach, that you can get programs to go do it yourself at Planet Fitness or like a gym like Coastal Strength and Fitness, where there's the programming is done for you. But ultimately, you're balancing, like we said, frequency and intensity levels. So so some workouts should be lower intensity, or you have suggested off days, or just active recovery like walking, or like a cardio circuit where you're purposely keeping your heart rate lower. Those kind of things, right? So balance again in your fitness program is key for recovery. So you're giving yourself a chance based on what you can do recovery wise. Kind of hand in hand with that, taking it easier, having off days, having recovery days, right, where you just walk,
just chill.
You like that's productive. Again, so getting enough calories and nutrients.
That's a big one.
Where if you're trying to lose weight, that's another factor, right? Like you typically have to eat less. Well, so you're not gonna be able to train as hard when you're dieting,
and you're not gonna progress as well when you're trying to lose weight, which is okay. Your goal is to lose weight, and that's fine.
You understand that's added stress, and you're compensating for that. Now, at the same token, this is where a lot of people go wrong when they try to diet or lose weight. Well, let me just eat as little as possible, right? Let me just starve myself. Let me be more drastic than I need to be. When the reality is, no, you want to give yourself. You want to make every nutrient count. You want to eat as much as you can while still losing weight.
Yeah.
You want to prioritize protein.
You're essentially trying to get away with as much as possible.
Yeah. and make sure that you're getting the things you need, right? You're getting enough protein, you're getting enough micronutrients, and then the balance of calories is just basically energy nutrients, which then your body can get from stored body fat.
Yep.
So you can, if you walk that tightrope and get in that slight deficit, you can get everything you need and lose weight. Now, when you get leaner and leaner and leaner, then that doesn't happen, right? But most people, unless you're a bodybuilder, you don't have to worry about that. So, again, that's where nutrition, getting enough of it, feeding your activity levels, right? You want to avoid those drastic calorie deficits.
Yeah, because like it'll work until it doesn't, and a lot of times we lose muscle mass when we do that, which we've covered a million times, but makes it harder as you're losing muscle mass. Say you lose muscle mass, then you gain a bunch of fat back, then it's even harder to lose weight without that muscle mass you had before. So it just starts this vicious cycle of gaining and losing a lot of people find themselves in.
Yeah. And also on that flip side, like, it's very possible this is where, like, eating like crap, like, you can get enough calories, way more calories, you start gaining fat, but also if a lot of those calories are empty, meaning they don't have a lot of micronutrition, you could be getting plenty of calories, but not the nutrients you need. And that's going to cause problems, right? You know, your body needs building blocks again, protein is the one that does all this. So if you aren't getting optimal protein, realize the recommendation of like 50 grams a day is to prevent deficiencies for basically
that's bare minimum
inactive person.
Yep.
So, and most of the people we meet with, and these are people who are now training, they barely hit 50 grams a day.
Yeah.
Right. So
like you're not even getting what you need to stay alive as a human that just sits there.
But then they could be overweight, so they're getting plenty of calories. You know, but you're missing that specific nutrients you may need, right? And that's where that stuff matters, especially then when you fold in tons of activity.
Protein, I think, is probably the biggest focus for it because so many people are pretty low on it. Like they'll start working out and they are at 40, 50 grams, and it's just not going to cut it.
Yeah, you're just not. It'd be like hiring someone. You know, you get this awesome design for this house. Get a great contractor, and then you just literally don't give them enough materials. And you're like, why? What's wrong? Why can't you build this house?
My house built?
They don't even have the materials.
Yeah. So you can't expect to get to the point you want to get to if you're not giving yourself, the materials that it needs to get there.
And that's what people have to understand. Like, this is serious. Like, there's some nutrients your body can make itself, but then there's these essential nutrients that you can only get from food. And basically, the main ones are these certain essential amino acids, which are certain proteins. You can only get them from food. If you're not getting enough, if your body is not getting enough of these these amino acids from food, it cannot link together and rebuild.
Yeah.
Like the process that goes on, literally cannot do it. So you're literally just breaking your body down. Yeah,
because your body's gonna use those from some. Like if it needs something for a crucial operation, it's gonna take it from your muscle.
Yeah, it's gonna find it. It's gonna get it, and it's an expensive process for your body. And then it's gonna take it from the muscle, right? And then you're losing muscle. So you're just breaking down, and yeah, again, you're not recovering. So then you factor a bunch of high intensity exercise, and you could just be fast forwarding the process of breaking down. It'd be almost better not to
whittling yourself down.
Not to do any of that if you're not going to eat enough protein. So, yeah, those are the big three, right? Like sleep, balancing your fitness program, and getting enough nutrition, proper nutrition.
Boom.
Right there. And yeah, guess what? We're completely familiar that it's easy to say that, but it's not easy to execute, right?
Yeah, we know that.
I mean, people struggle with nutrition. It's a habit change, lifestyle change. Takes a lot. Sleep, same thing. Yeah, if you could just fall asleep and stay asleep for 7 hours, I'm sure you would. But most people we meet with, they struggle with that, right? So that's where you got to develop. Look, really, the main thing for those two things is establishing routine and
bringing some awareness to yourself.
And habit. You got to change habits, right?
You have to. Yeah, you can't just keep trying to have the same bedtime routine and expect to sleep differently or sleep more.
Or here's the thing. Most of us, like, if you have to get up, you normally have to get up to be somewhere, so you have this set time. So if you have to get up at, say, 7 a.m., and ultimately you stay up until midnight, and the last 2 hours you're up, you're just flipping TikTok, I mean, it just comes down to priorities. Like, you can do that. You can go to bed.
Yeah.
You know,
could
so
flip
you
TikTok in the morning, man.
and the reality is you're just losing those 2 hours because no matter what, you still have to get up at 7, right?
Yeah.
So you can go to bed at
Yeah, that's a non-negotiable.
10 or you can go to bed at midnight. There's 2 hours of sleep. And then we can get even deeper. Also, the sooner you go to bed, the more likely it is you get higher quality, deeper sleep. So it's also diminishing by waiting and waiting. But ultimately, again, the point of that is you're probably going to have to make changes that are hard,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and
So,
do them one at a time. You know, you don't have to do a full overhaul because we know that rarely works. So just try one thing to improve it. It could be, hey, I'm going to get off my phone at 10 o'clock every night. You know, and not even expecting like I'm going to be dead asleep at 10, but just I'm going to get off my phone, I'm going to go get in bed, or maybe I'm going to read, and that helps you fall asleep a little sooner.
yeah.
You know, it could be something that easy instead of feeling like, hey, I got to change my whole life.
Yep. And then the reality is like all three of these things, you may need help. You may need that's why we believe in like coaching, right? Look, balancing and varying your workout program. Hey, like hire a reputable and good coach to help you do that. You may not have the time to figure that out for yourself. Same thing like nutrition coaching, lifestyle coaching. Like you already know kind of things you need to do. It's not necessarily about that. It's about having that accountability and push
To help you actually do it.
and stick with it long enough for it to actually change. We just had a client finish up like 3 months of nutrition coaching, and she in the little like form that we have people fill out. I'll share with you a point she made that I thought, you know, it's like, oh man, like this is important. And just like, what advice would you give someone who's overwhelmed with their diet and thinking of hiring a coach? And she mentioned we could all use a cheerleader sometimes because our inner voice is not always the kindest or most honest voice in the room.
Absolutely.
And yeah, the reality is like, yeah, most people, 99% of people are going to sabotage yourself via being mean to themselves or being, oh, I failed, I'm a failure, I'm going back to this.
And not celebrating a small victory because it's not good enough.
Or lying to yourself.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know what? Like, I did only eat this or that, or like, I had to stay up because I was doing something. You know, we just kind of like start to like, soften the corners, shade the gray.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, having a coach is going to help keep you honest and also like be a positive voice.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people that may be your missing link. So don't be afraid to lean into that. If you've tried and tried and tried, like don't keep blaming yourself. Like most people do those things. Like you're not alone if you just.
Oh yeah. I mean, actually yesterday I had the same thing happen at the gym, I believe. And somebody was, we were doing an exercise that we've been tracking weekly. And I was like, well, what did you get up to on this exercise? How did you do? And they were like, oh, I only did this. Like, I don't know if I could have done more. And it was like a PR, like they went up 5 pounds from the previous week or 10 pounds and did a few more reps. Like, how is that not a PR? So like helping that person celebrate, like you just crushed it and you should be proud of yourself. But instead you feel like you didn't do enough.
Yeah.
And being a coach, part of that is, helping turn that person's point of view around and giving them that praise that they deserve for killing it. Like you're in a good spot, so don't, beat yourself up over it.
Yeah. So there you go.
Recovery.
If you only remember one thing, remember the training itself isn't the magic.
Nah.
It's the rest between that improves your fitness.
Yep. So just, take a good look. A little awareness at how do I feel during my week? Could I take something away? As far as training goes, do I need more sleep?
Yeah.
Most people know how much they sleep. There's not many people where you could ask how many hours they slept and they're not, somewhat sure of where they were at, whether it's 3 or 12. So you have an idea of where you're at. It's just a matter of making a little change here and there.
Yeah. And from a practical standpoint, so really, if you're sore all the time, if you have your mood's off, if you aren't making progress with your exercise, then look at, man, could I get to bed an hour earlier? Do I need to address my nutrition more? Again, like Will said, we know if we're like taking that serious or not.
Yep.
and maybe I need to skip an extra day, train less, lower my intensity.
Training frequency can be an easier variable to change up front, I think, versus the other one. The other ones require a lot of habit change, whereas if you train 4 days a week and you go to 3 days a week, there's not that much, that really needs to change.
The reality is, in the way I approach it, you're always almost better off leaning towards too little than too much.
Absolutely.
Because, again, if we want to know we can recover, we'll know we'll be fully recovering from too little. And then the reality is, if you're just consistent over the long time, you'll get your gains, you'll get your progress because you're consistent and recovering, right? Yep. You don't have to really doubt it. So it's typically, if you're busy, stressed, it's just better to lean towards a little too less.
I think for most people, 2 to 3 days is all you would ever need.
Yep.
Of strength training. Yep. And then
strength training is like a higher
intensity.
So, strength training or like a HIIT circuit. 2 to 4 in general, but 2 to 3 for most people we find, like 2 strength and 1 HIIT or 3 strength. And then the other days, like low intensity, walking, active recovery.
Bike riding, things like that.
Things like that.
Yeah.
That's going to be good. Now, most people if you're getting your sleep, nutrition, you're getting your protein, we won't even make you be like super picky with as long as you're getting your protein, getting your sleep, then a good setup that we like for people is like 3 strength days and 1 like HIIT cardio type session, right?
Because generally you're going to cover everything with that.
So that, then have at it. Now, if you're someone who wants to do it all and push your intensity, then, you better be on point with your nutrition. You better be hitting all your macros, your calories. You better be getting 7 hours of sleep, good sleep.
At least 7,
consistent. Otherwise, it's futile.
Yep. Yeah. I think a good takeaway from this is, as far as training goes, more is absolutely not better. For most people, more is going to be worse. If we consider like 3 days as a good baseline, more than that is a lot of times going to take away.
Yep.
So, if you are feeling run down or your joints are hurting or you're always sore or your mood is terrible, then you absolutely should look at all of these factors.
Yep. So joint pain, you'll notice, my shoulders are achy, my knees are achy. Like that's typically a recovery problem, right? And often too, little injuries can be a sign too, and then they end up leading to bigger injuries. So like, it can literally be you're just not recovering, and then that area is taking the brunt and it needs a break.
Well,
right?
It doesn't recover; it's still inflamed. Then you go beat it up again, and you just do that for months on end, and then you're like, I don't know why I tore my rotator cuff.
Because you have to remember, our muscles, joints, ligaments, like these things get little. Like when we work them out, when we train, they get little, damaged, small amounts of damage, and then we rest and recover, like we said, the magic, and they get repaired and a little bit better, right? They come back a little bit stronger, a little bit better, and then they can withstand more. But if you just break them down, damage them, and then don't recover, they're still damaged, and then you do more. Now that you did more damage that didn't recover, and then added more damage on top of that. And then again, didn't recover, and now more. You're just digging a deeper hole. So if you visualize it like a straight line, that's the ground, that's the dirt, and your training sessions are digging a little hole. Now, if you go super hard, tons of volume, tons of intensity, that hole you dig is bigger from that workout. And then we need to recover back to that, to the top of the dirt.
You need more time to get back up to that base level.
And ideally, we want to raise the dirt, but then the reality is, if you don't recover fully, you're still in that hole, and then you just dug the hole deeper.
Yep, because you trained again and dug deeper and trained again and dug deeper, and you're never even able to get back to baseline from that.
And then you get deep enough, that's what oh my gosh, I can't even fall asleep, and I'm in a horrible mood, and I have no sex drive, and my appetite's all thrown off. Yeah, you're gonna need a lot of rest. You're gonna need to walk and do nothing else, maybe, right?
Yeah.
So now you get where you didn't recover and you can't do anything, right? So you just have to accept that. For most people, again, crazy, hectic, busy, stressed life, you're on the side of a little bit less. And go back, we have some podcast episodes where we talk about like what is the minimum effective dose.
And those are good ones.
Don't go below that. because you get a majority of the benefits from hitting that, and most people should be able to recover. So like 2 strength workouts, and like we said, the walking, and then build on that, right, and see how you feel. But don't be afraid to dip down to just that or just a little over. Like me personally, my base most of the year is just a little over that minimum effective dose. I normally do 3 strength training workouts with the walking added in, right? Every now and then I'll do maybe some incline treadmill walks, like, so it ups the intensity a little, or maybe twice a year I'll do a random hit circuit, or maybe play a sport.
Twice a year.
Every now and then I'll train 4 days a week. So there, ebbs and flows, but I always know that base and then also the floor.
Well, yeah, and the base, like, you can get what you need from that.
Yeah, and then I recover. And again, if I'm dieting, I'm not going to ramp.
Nope.
Like, that's when I definitely won't do any extra like circuits or hit or anything extra, right? Because now we're adding more stress through the calorie deficit.
And I think that's actually where a lot of people end up.
Yeah, they think I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to train more.
Like, it's time to lose weight. I got to sweat more. I got to burn my calories. When in reality, like, you're just stressing yourself out and making this harder.
The easiest and leanest I ever got, hand in hand. I got the leanest I ever got, and it was the easiest, was when I only trained 2 days a week and just walked. I aimed for 10,000 steps a day, 2 strength training workouts a week. And that was it.
Yeah.
But it was hard. It was like I trained on Monday and Thursday.
Well, it was mentally hard, wasn't it?
Itching to, I like that third
That's
session.
that's the hard part too. Is if you do want that extra session.
Yeah. So then people, we know we have clients like this. They're like, I need it for my mental sanity. So understand again, if you're the type I need to go do something every day, the more frequent you want to train, and we've talked about this before, well then the less intense it needs to be.
Yeah.
The more intense you want to train, the less frequent it needs to be. You got to kind of like scale.
There's a balance to
that.
it.
Yeah.
One goes up, the other goes down. It has to.
And then wrapped around that, say that's like this little seesaw. Then you have wrapped all the way around that is your recovery, right? So then if your recovery, your sleep, and your nutrition is even worse, then within that, they need to be
brought down
or can be brought up.
Yeah.
If you're on point with those things. So there you go. So that's your recovery. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah. Do a little check-in with yourself. See, how am I recovering? How many of those points did I hit?
Yeah.
And do I need to make any changes? Again, we generally know.
Yeah.
We usually have a good idea of when we're not feeling so hot. So just, good, accurate look at yourself.
I'll tell you this, because I've been in both places. I've been where I was like overtraining and like there's a place where you can wake up with vigor. You go do your exercises, your workouts, and you feel good, but you almost feel when you're done, you feel like you have even more energy. And you go about the rest of your day feeling good. And you fall asleep easy. And then you wake up again with vigor. Like,
it's out there.
That is a real place. You can get there. Now, it's not easy. You have to find this balance of the stuff, but don't think. So many people, I think they're just supposed to feel run down. During their workout, after their workout, in general, on their overall sense of being. It's like, oh, like this is, I'm putting in the work. Hashtag no break, no days,
hashtag no sleep for the week.
And people try to like wear that as some badge of honor.
Yeah.
And it's
like, not a badge of honor, in case anyone's wondering.
And that's not normal. You're not supposed to feel like that.
No.
And
bro, you got to sleep.
Yeah. So
your hustle sucks if you don't sleep.
Stop it.
Just saying.
And if your fitness program's just like a smackdown every workout, like I'm gonna make you as tired as possible, like get a new trainer, get a new program.
Find somebody else.
Stop doing that.
The goal should never be just to make people tired, because that's low skill.
Yeah. If you're hopping
that's the reality.
It's just almost impossible to recover from for most people. And I say that because we work with most people.
Yeah, that's our demographic is the average person.
And we do polls and surveys and nutrition, and we see people's diet logs. We see people's sleep habits. And guess what? Most people don't get enough sleep and eat like crap. So guess what? Their training should be scaled down. You need to earn the right to like hop on your Peloton 6 days a week and like go, balls out with Cody. Is that his name?
I don't know. I think I know who you're talking about, though.
Yeah. Like that's going to run you down. And I know if you're listening, I know you've been there. I know people are like, man, yeah, I got that zombie feeling.
Yeah. That little flutter deep down where you know it's true.
You ain't recovering. Every workout's digging a deeper hole.
Yeah. Don't dig deep. Also, working out's not therapy. Just had to throw it in there.
Yeah.
Go to therapy if you need therapy.
If you're trying to like fix childhood trauma from a burpee.
Working out ain't it, man.
Yeah,
it's not.
You don't.
So if you absolutely feel like you need it to make it through your day, to work out or you're going to break, then you need to go
Yeah.
talk to somebody.
Like when people pick up running, they're like, running's my therapy.
Yeah, it's
like-
not. It might feel good, but you still got some deep down traumas locked in there that you need to work out. So just my PSA for the day. That's all.
Yep.
Sometimes people get stuck in that. Oh, it's my therapy. It's not. Anywho,
All right. So that's that.
Recovery 101.
And that was more like 201.
Yeah, that was kind of like 2. Yeah.
Nah. Recovery 101's that first sentence. But.
Yeah.
All right. Well, appreciate you for listening.
We'll catch you next time.
As always, thanks for listening, guys. If you want to learn more, check us out at coastalfitnessva.com or garydeagle.com. We'll see you next time.